Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Don't you want to sound rich?
Welcome everyone to episode 20 of your favorite podcast about all things elite. Welcome to All Things Elite. I am your host, Floyd Johnson, and with me, as always, is my absolutely awesome co-host, Amy O. How you doing, Amy?
I am doing great because we just watched one heck of an awesome show with Fyter Fest.
Yes, Fyter Fest literally went off about 15 minutes ago, maybe, and me and Amy are about to give you our full review and thoughts on it. Just know this is the first time either one of us has ever done this. We also got a bunch of questions. We thank everyone that sent in questions. We're going to try to get to them and try to, because a couple are similar, we're going to try to answer them all at one time. But yeah, we're definitely going to get to everything because we appreciate, because it's always better when the show is interactive with the people that are listening to it. So we definitely appreciate you appreciate you sending in your messages. I'm like so excited because again, it was like, it's a home run. It was another great show. What were your overall opinions of the show before we start individually?
Overall, I thought this show was incredible. I mean, I went into this thinking, okay, this is Fyter Fest. It's at like CEO Gaming Festival. Like, I wasn't really sure what kind of build-up this show was going to have because it didn't feel necessarily like their kickoff show like Double or Nothing or a big anniversary show like All Out. So I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I loved this show. It felt like watching Double or Nothing in the sense that it felt big and important and impactful and fun and really well paced and just all across the board. I really, really loved the show.
Yes, I definitely agree. I gave the show an A on my letter grade scale. I don't think there were any boring parts of the show. I was just talking about how I looked up and it was like 2 hours that passed. They take my time seriously, and they pack as much things as they can into that time, because with the pre-show, it was a 3.5 hour show. I will tell you now, there are episodes of a show on a certain company that's 3 hours that feels like it's 6. So I'm just gonna, I know this, I am not gonna make this show about that show. So I'm just gonna say, yeah, but they value your time and fit as much entertainment. They do as they entertain you in a variety of different ways. So before we get to our match by match review, starting with buy-in, I just want to remind you that this episode of All Things Elite is brought to you by Powerslam TV. Powerslam TV, where you get access to over 4,000 hours of content from over 110 of your favorite wrestling brands from countries around the globe onto your laptop and mobile device. If you use the code Social Suplex, you get the first month free. And like I said, I don't go really further than that on Powerslam TV, but if you want to get back in and like see back matches of anybody on the AEW roster. A lot of them worked independents before, so I'm pretty sure if you want to watch previous matches of them, you can definitely catch that on PowerSlam TV.
Excellent. Well, let's get going. We have a stacked show, just like AEW had a stacked card. Now let's take the pre-show, the buy-in. So the first match that we have was a triple threat tag team match with Private Party versus SCU and the Best Friends. Now, I loved this match. We talked about this before in the show that we did last week where we were talking about what to expect at Fyter Fest, and we knew that this was going to be a great match. But the thing that I loved about this match was that every team really had a chance to stand out and shine. And for me, all throughout this entire show, for the most part, each match had a winner and then also had a standout performer. And the Best Friends won this match, but for me, Private Party was the standout performer of this match. You had a crowd that was on their feet chanting for them. People were so excited about them. They were the talk of Twitter, and I love that this, to me, really was a first impression of them. I know we saw them at the Battle Royale at Double or Nothing, but there were so many people out there that they kind of got lost in the mix. This time we got to see who Private Party is, what Private Party is, and how awesome Private Party is.
Yes. They were, and I honestly thought, being in there with 4 super veterans, and them not being the name, being the known name, I thought they were going to do what they can to make them look good. I don't think they needed a lot of help. There was this springboard backflip over the ropes spot that they did in the match, and I was just like, these dudes are smooth and they are really, really comfortable doing what they're doing. One criticism, and I honestly think it just comes from being young, they're not filled out like the other 4 are. That's the best way to put it. They're not filled out. They looked very small compared to the other tag teams. Like, it was noticeably so. It was like, I'm not a size guy in wrestling. Like, whatever, I don't care. Do your thing. My favorite wrestler's Cody. He's not the biggest guy. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I think he's 206 pounds. He's very open about how much he weighs. It was just like them. They just look like, they haven't. It's like they might not have done, or they're at the beginning of their journey to looking the right way. But
that they've got like a road ahead of them for development and building up themselves.
And them being a young tag team, that's great because they got their first, the first big AEW contract. I'm pretty sure the way they eat and the way they train is going to change completely from working independents. It's probably a little harder, a little harder to stay in shape that you're supposed to. But that's the one thing I noticed. If there was a visible difference there, and if I'm gonna talk about how awesome they are, I have to look at the unfortunate negative, but they were amazing. And I think the 4 SCU and Best Friends did amazing job of putting them in positions to succeed. And I just thought that was awesome. And I think Scorpio and Kazarian, it was just like, there was a couple times, there were a couple communication issues in other matches, but in this match, it just seemed like they knew exactly what was going on. The cutter is going to be a very popular move when these 3 teams are fighting each other. And we got the hug. We did, but we didn't get the Rainmaker shot with the hug. Yes, you got to do the Rainmaker shot with the hug. I saw your tweet, and I was like, retweet, because I had that exact same thought. I'm like, you gotta come out. It's gotta look like this epic moment. The man, I saw one spot I'd never seen, and I didn't write down the names, but they had him in the camel clutch, and he jumped over his back and double stomped him to the ground. Like, I've been watching wrestling 30 years, so stuff I haven't seen is kind of hard. I just thought that was impressive. I literally wrote that down in the notebook so I would make a comment about it.
Yeah, this match was absolutely amazing. I loved how flawless. SCU, Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky they looked incredible. The Best Friends, of course, looked like an established, awesome tag team. Private Party came out looking like just an explosively awesome tag team. This ended up being a showcase of what the tag team division is about in AEW. Because, of course, we have the Young Bucks and, of course, we have the Lucha Brothers, but they get a lot of attention due to the main events that they've been having. But having something like this opening up the show to showcase that kind of talent and that kind of excitement, especially as they start talking more and more about, this tag team tournament that they're going to be holding, I was all about this match. This was a great way to kick off the show.
Absolutely, and anyone, I saw comments, I saw the negative ones, and I saw some people were like, well, the pre-show as a whole wasn't good, but I'm like, they have very much made it kind of clear that they're going to do a variety show, and most of the comedic stuff is done during the pre-show, and then you get the serious wrestling during the live show, and I can handle that. You know what I mean? I don't mind it being during the live show because I actually like comedy wrestling. But if you looked at how this was formatted, they really got the actual intentionally funny stuff out of the way during the buy-in.
Yeah, and I actually really appreciate that because you get two separate kinds of shows within the same big show. And I like that it gives you a reprieve and something that's silly and fun and joyful to watch before you start getting into the heavy hitting stuff, whether it's, the heavy hitting emotional or the hardcore or any of that. You get a nice reprieve from that. And I can understand how if in a pre-show the goal is to advertise the rest of the show in hopes that people who haven't already jumped in to buy it would buy it, that's kind of an odd juxtaposition because the pre-show is so different from the main show. But I personally love this format. I love the flow. I love that it gets you into the fun and gets the crowd going and gets me going before the heavy hitting stuff of the main show starts.
Yes, and they gave you a serious, exciting match. I was like, like I said, I know a lot of, I do stars, I do the star ratings, and I was like, man, I would say this was a 3.75 4-star match. I thought it was exciting. It kept a good pace. It told a story at the very beginning with Private Party, the whole physical size thing. They told the story that they were a little smaller than the other tag teams, and they were going to have to use their speed and their skill to keep up with them because they had the physical size difference. And I thought that told a brilliant story. And they also told the story of SCU and Best Friends not liking Private Party, the young guys, and kind of bullying them until they kind of turned on each other, and then it went back to being a triple threat match because they kind of hit some moves and got the respect in the middle of the match again.
Yeah, absolutely. And they sure did. Again, that's one of the things that everybody was talking about on Twitter was just how great this team is. And I love that we get these moments of introduction for people who get to see these people that are new to them, see them wrestle, see what they're about, see what the excitement is, and really get to kind of grow attached just from the actual journey of getting to know them this way. I really love it.
Yeah, Quinn hit a shooting star press that might be my new favorite shooting star press in wrestling. He just floated and hung in the air so long, and it was so beautiful, and he landed the way he was supposed to land. I just thought took amazing body control to pull off. In the end, though, it was Best Friends going to 2-0 when they hit the strong 0 to get the pin on one of Private Party. I know Isaiah is he's the skinnier one, and Quinn is the little thicker.
Yeah, he's the dude that was in the orange jumpsuit, I think.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. But probably a better description than the one I gave. But they end up getting the pinfall, and like I said, it's like you look at the Best Friends, they're really establishing them as one of those elite tag teams because they're 2-0. Wins and losses matter, and they've won both of their matches. And so, yeah, and it looks like we're not just going to get only them fighting for the tag belts. What happened after the match, Amy?
We had the Dark Order appeared on screen after the match to send another challenge to the best friends. We had the lights go out, and commentary said, hey, the Dark Order can control the lights in this arena. And then they come back on, and everybody's around the ring. And then they turn off again, and they're gone. So I think we're going to have a feud with the best friends and the Dark Order.
So, what do you... I mean, I'm really looking forward to this feud because everyone tells me how good this tag team is. The Super Smash Brothers, aka the Dark Order. And I love a great tag team feud. To me, that's how you establish a brand. A division. Like, you can have the champions battling the challengers. That's great. But in other companies, that's really all you get in a tag team division. What they're doing now is establishing an alternate feud other than the tag belts. It'll eventually be for the tag belts, but this is an alternate feud outside of the tag title chase, which that's what builds a division, is when you have feuds that are not for the title. Just like in the singles division, not every feud in the singles division is towards a title. You need to have those in the tag division. You need to have that in the women's division. That's how you actually establish a division.
Oh, for sure. And also, another aspect of this that's great is that you have a way to introduce people to this new team, because I've never seen the Super Smash Brothers before. I know a lot of people have. But when you have a company that's filled with, relatively speaking, a lot of new talent that's new to a lot of people, having new teams come in, they can kind of get lost in the shuffle because there are already so many new to us people on the roster. So building them up with having these video packages and kind of having these lights out surprises ends up allowing for a lot more intrigue. So when they do finally make it into the ring for their feud to sort of develop and culminate, then you have some excitement that's built up into this match that may not otherwise have been there.
Absolutely. It's like I am immediately intrigued with the Dark Order, how they're going to affect the best friends going forward. How much interference are we going to get from the new people? How's it going to work out when it comes to the tag team titles? It's just like in that little segment, you have just made me so intrigued on this feud.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I really can't wait to see where it goes and whether or not we're going to get some of this at All Out. Maybe we might see the best friends mixing it up with the Dark Order. Let's move on to Allie Elite versus Leva Bates. So this is when we have the Librarians come out. Now, I thought this match was advertised to be Kylie Rae versus Leva Bates.
I saw that everywhere. I never saw the name Allie.
No, me either. And they didn't explain Kylie's absence, but okay. So we have Allie. And we have a situation where Leva Bates is coming out, and of course she's the Librarian. And then you have these kind of dual shh things happening. And it turns out that Peter Avalon is hiding in one of the rescue FEMA tents that they have for Fyter Fest. And then he ends up going ballistic and decapitating a mannequin and destroying the tent and throwing it in the pool. And he just kind of goes on this weird rampage. This match was interesting because I love the librarian gimmick, and as somebody who works in libraries, I think it's fantastic. But oddly enough, this particular situation didn't hit the marks for me, and I'm not quite sure why. I like their interactions together, but it didn't feel like it was as strong as what we had already seen with the tag team match and what we were going to see with the rest of the show. So it just kind of felt off. So I think that the librarian gimmick is something that can work really well, but I think that, it's something that could take some work and could take some practice and could take some kind of bouncing ideas around to fully develop that. That's not a complete criticism on Leva or Peter or AEW. It's just an opportunity to look at something that could have some improvement and see what they can do to develop that from there.
All I can say, the nicest thing I can say about this match is Allie and Leva lacked chemistry.
Okay, I was trying to say this in the nicest way
It's
possible.
like they lacked chemistry.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
because even when Leva had about 3 spots that looked really good. She got the pedigree off. I thought that was good, but all of the rest of her offense looked weak and slow to me. And I don't know if that was a not being very familiar with Allie. Maybe this whole Kylie thing was a last minute substitution and she didn't know she was going to be working her. But I know Leva's been wrestling for a while now. It just felt like she really felt like the slow one on the group. And I'm like, I like Leva Bates. The librarian gimmick is funny. It's just when this is the first singles women's match in AEW history. And I don't want people to think that's going to be the quality.
Thankfully, I think that, and we'll talk about this later, the next women's match, I think in everybody's mind will be the first meaningful one. But I totally agree. And, you know, I like Allie Elite. I keep almost wanting to call her Allie Impact. So if I misstep on that, I apologize. I like Allie. I like Leva. I was really excited to see them wrestle once I realized that it wasn't going to be Kylie, it was going to be Allie instead. I think individually they're both great wrestlers, but for some reason tonight they didn't click. And maybe you're right, maybe it was because it was a last minute change. Maybe that threw off the game.
Right.
But it seemed like things were just thrown off and there wasn't the air of confidence, there wasn't the air of like professionalism. Not saying that either of them aren't, but it just felt off.
It seemed like Allie was just way better than Leva, and she couldn't bring her up to where she was. And that's what it felt like to me. I understand, like, replacing Allie makes sense, because now they're building to the Fight for the Falling match with Brandy. They had the little TV thing where she's actually looking at the TV and scouting the match. That was great. But like I said, it's just, and the librarian stuff I actually like. I think it's silly. I think it's fun. I think you need some likeness on your TV shows. No matter what, I think you need people like that. Just like the WWE has R-Truth. You need you might not need the librarians, but you need something that is light. And her taking pinfalls doesn't hurt anything because she's more about the character than being a really competitive wrestler. So, all that. I can make sense of all that. It went from just kind of being a squash match, which I would have been okay with, to it was actively bad.
It did go longer than
yes.
probably should have.
Yes, it was just like, wrap this up. Like I said, you know me, I'm not a negative person.
Yeah.
But the only way we can do this is to be honest.
You know, I was really glad, though, because I was curious. There was only one match on this card that I was like, and I was curious because we're both really positive people. And
I just don't think I'd be telling the I don't think I would be telling the truth if I waved my magic positive wand on this match. It literally wasn't good, and it was a match. I think Allie did her purpose, her winning. I like her super kick finisher. I thought that was all great, and it established her character. And the Brandy feud that's coming up, I'm not saying any of that is wrong. It's just this match from bell to bell sucked.
Yeah, well, I hope that they're able to, develop the ring work, if that's going to be something that they're going to want to play with. I hope that they're able to kind of bounce ideas for the interactions of the librarians, because I did think that there was promise in the kind of Sutter feud. We actually talked about this last week, that Peter Avalon may play a role in kind of throwing the match, and he did.
Yeah.
But I think that perfecting that is going to be something that takes time, and I'm willing to give them that time to figure that out, but it's definitely something that became quite apparent in watching it here, and I hope that that's something that they work on in the back until the next show.
Comedy's not easy. It takes timing and working it into a match while still treating the match serious. It's a very slippery slope. So, that does take work, and it's just like, like the thing about, like, we're going to talk about the next match in a second. you can see when comedy doesn't, it's not all put together the correct way, and then you can see another match when it's completely put together the correct way.
Oh man, let's talk about that match.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about it. Okay, so this match was Michael Nakazawa versus Alex Jabali, the CEO of CEO Gaming. Now, this match I was really excited about because we saw them at CEO Gaming last year. Alex Jabali had a torn Achilles and was wearing a boot in that match. He wasn't able to actually effectively wrestle. And so this time he was able to show all of the work that he's been putting in. And I got to say real quick, before we get into the fun and the comedy of this, for a guy who isn't a wrestler, you can tell he loves wrestling and has done the work to go into this ring in a wrestling match. This was watching a guy living his dream, and I loved it.
I absolutely agree with that. I mean, you can go on, but I absolutely agree with that.
Oh, absolutely. No, please do, because this was great, because the rest of it's going to be getting into the comedy, which we can touch on later. But I know you had some interesting points about Alex Jabali, too, when we were talking about this last week.
Yeah, I'm like, it's like, seriously, it's one of those things, it kind of warms my heart. I'm like, this dude trained for an event, tore his Achilles, wasn't able to show what he has. You having people like, why do you got this non-wrestler doing this? Why do you have this non-wrestler doing this? Why is he in a match? Why is he on it all? This should be a dark match. Well, this guy busted his ass to come back from a major surgery. Achilles injury, major surgery. Not only come back, and then train again to do the match again. Just think about this. Just think about if I'm going to be a marathon runner, right? And you start training to run a marathon, and within the first half mile of your practice marathon, you tear your quad or your calf. You're probably never going to run marathons again. You're going to just say it's not meant to happen and probably just not do that again. You might still work out, but you're probably going to give up on the dream of marathons. It happens to a lot of people. This dude tears his Achilles, major surgery, still trains and says, I'm still going to get back in the ring and try again. I don't care what you think about non-wrestlers wrestling or whatever. You have to commend that man for doing that. Just getting in that ring in front of thousands of people, in front of a pretty hardcore fan base that aren't going to let you suck without letting you know.
Absolutely. And you got to give this dude credit. He takes a spear from Michael Nakazawa off the apron and through a table. I'm not a wrestler. I'm not going through a table. No way. He takes a kendo stick to the back. He's actually legit doing moves in there.
Yeah, and his body slam was beautiful. He, tucked the head under. It was great. I just thought, like I said, he's a non-wrestler. So I am not going to grade him like he's a wrestler. I'm going to grade him as he's a non-wrestler, doing a match. And it was, to me, awesome. I enjoyed it. I was having fun. I was laughing the whole time. I just thought he did a really good job.
Oh, I fully agree. Now, I do know that some people didn't like this match as much because it was, a comedy match. I loved it. I went into this match really nervous because I knew there was going to be a lot of hardcore wrestling on this card. And so I was like, oh man, okay. We've got a hardcore wrestling match in the pre-show. All right. And I'm gearing myself up for it. I'm preparing myself to toughen up and watch the match. And we've got pink flamingos being used as weapons. We've got a near drowning in the inflatable pool. We've got, are they going to be thumbtacks? No, they're Lego button things, but not Legos because those would actually be really sharp. These are like rounded button things.
Yes.
This match was so fun. This was so great, especially to kind of alleviate that tension, at least for me personally, to alleviate that tension of gearing up for like a hardcore match. I loved that they had a hardcore match that turned into a comedy match that still had some hardcore elements into it. But I just thought this match was so fun. And I loved that it ended the way that it did, where Michael Nakazawa was able to get his retribution from last year. I just thought this was a great match. And I know that there are going to be reviews that are critical for this match, and I get that, but for me, this was fun. It was perfect. It was a great bit of variety in the pre-show before we get into that main card.
Yeah, and it's not your cup of tea. It's not your cup of tea. I mean, it's that simple. I mean, you know if you like comedy wrestling or if you don't like comedy wrestling. I mean, that's what from what I saw through our collective Twitters, and I was going through everyone because I was kind of taking notes. It was people that didn't like comedy wrestling, and if you don't like comedy wrestling, you're never gonna like a Michael Nakazawa match. That's his whole gimmick, and that's why it works. Michael Nakazawa is a talented wrestler, and that's why he was able to work with Mike. They put the people that they trust when you have people outside of wrestling like Alex Jabali. I mean, he took a German suplex damn near on his head, and he pretty much did all the work on that move, and it was just like, that's what you count on Michael Nakazawa to do. And I was like, yeah, I understand people are going to be like, well, I didn't like it. I get it. You're super serious. And I don't even understand what wrestling you're watching, because even in New Japan, there's Yano. Yano's there. Taichi. He's kind of he delves into the heelish bullshit sometimes. Mm-hmm. I don't know what you're watching that there's no comedy in wrestling.
I mean, at least we didn't see some guy pee his pants.
Exactly. You did not see anybody pee his pants. The oil was as far as it goes. They did a little slip and fall thing. That was cool. Nakazawa got the win with a wrestling move, which was awesome. And now they're tied 1-1. So if they do the CEO show next year, you have another built-in feud, another pre-match. And I don't understand why people are so upset about a pre-show match. It's a pre-show match.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Pre-shows are supposed to be fun. They're supposed to build up the audience. They're supposed to, get everything excited and ready to go. It's kind of like a party.
I thought this pre-show did a great job. This pre-show was the hype man of shows, because those fans were, by the end of this match, they were in a tizzy. They were excited, and you could tell for the rest of the night, because you had the triple threat, and you saw them build up a little bit. Then you had the women's match, and they kind of checked out. And I felt like Michael Nakazawa and Jabali brought them back and set the pace for the whole rest of the show.
Totally agreed. And the crowd was on fire.
Absolutely.
For the rest of the night. So the next match that we have is when the show kicks off proper. And this is after Michael Nakazawa, after Alex Jabali, after the pre-show. We've got Shima versus Christopher Daniels. Now, we had this I think we both had this as a sleeper match of the night. Now, for me, it ended up being another match, the next one that became the sleeper match of the night. But this match was still great. And one of the reasons why was because you were talking earlier about when you see moves that you've never seen before, it's always a great and fun thing. Well, Shima, there was this spot where they did the running through the ropes, where Christopher Daniels does the leapfrog jump over Shima and then lays down. And usually people just kind of run over or skip over the person who's laying down on the ground. Shima instead does this like Superman dive where he's like 1.5 feet above Christopher Daniels. And it just looked so cool. And it was such a subtle thing, but just something that I've never seen anybody do before. It was awesome. So that happened, I think, right at the outset of the match. And that really, for me, just set the tone of the whole thing. You have Christopher Daniels in there looking absolutely flawless. JR actually said that, he's got athleticism, he's got accuracy, they're marksmen in the ring. And that was the perfect way to describe both of them. But for me, especially Christopher Daniels. Shima, as well, he is a marksman in the ring, but he has this really smooth, fast, and unique style. And I love seeing this unique flair to moves that, we just get used to seeing, which is crazy to think. We get used to seeing Hurricane Ranas and we get used to seeing flips and all of these things. But he adds this really great style to them where it just looks completely new. And I loved watching this match because of that.
Absolutely. I can't agree more. Can you hear me? I can't agree more. I thought I had pressed mute for a second. I can't agree more. They're so smooth. it looks effortless at times with CD and Shima. They're always where they're supposed to be, and it is like at times I was just watching it and like in awe of two people that have been doing this most of their life. Definitely all of their adult life, but most of their life, and it was just like, yeah, this is what wrestling's supposed to look like. Now, again, I don't think I got the emotional investment that I normally would in matches like these. The emotional investment to make this like really steal the show, I think I really did happen on the next match, but they did a really, really, really good job. And honestly, if the purpose was to build my excitement for Sheamus versus Kenny Omega, it definitely did that.
Absolutely. I cannot wait to watch those two in the ring.
Yes.
I mean, I'm so excited. I went from not knowing anything about Shima to when he was announced going, okay, who's this guy? And looking him up and then going, whoa, this dude's like a legend. Okay. And now after watching him just twice, it is incredible the amount of excitement that I have for his matches. And putting him against someone like Kenny Omega, who's so diverse in his moveset and so able to adapt his style and so energetic. It's going to be spectacular to watch him and Shima together.
Yeah, I don't know where this match is going to be placed in the card, but it would suck to be whoever has to follow it. Because Shima, this is like his audience is growing, right? No one knew who he was before Double or Nothing, right? I mean, no one as far as the casual AEW fan didn't know who he was. There's hardcore wrestling fans that have seen every one of his matches. So his audience built a little bit more going into this match with Christopher Daniels. Now he's going to really have his biggest audience because him and Kenny Omega is going to be one of the main matches on the show. So it's going to be, I'm glad that he's kind of building a following, because I know he got a whole bunch of probably new fans from this show. I am definitely a fan of his. So you just imagine with him and Kenny Omega. I don't know if Kenny Omega can have a bad match, and I don't think Shima can either. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I am so excited to talk about the next match, because this next match was, for me, that sleeper match of the night. There are great matches on the rest of the card, but this next match was the one that was a huge surprise, completely just took all the thunder and just magnified it. It was incredible. And this was the women's triple threat match of Nyla Rose, Yuka Sakazaki, and Riho. And one of the reasons why I'm so glad that this match ended up being so spectacular was because I was a little low-key concerned about the women's division matches. I know that the Joshi 6-woman tag team match at Double or Nothing was incredible. But the match that we had seen earlier with Ali and Leva wasn't all that great. And the match that we saw with Nyla at Double or Nothing, we had Awesome Kong come out too. So she also was a big, dominant, powerful woman. So that kind of ended up taking that kind of spotlight. So I was really curious to see how this match was going to stack up, how it was going to go, and I was completely blown away, literally from the entrance. Nyla comes out. She's got neon green skull mask thing over her lower half of her face. She's got this incredible outfit. She looks imposing and badass and awesome. And then she immediately sets the tone as being this powerful, dominant woman, but not in a slow kind of lumbering about the ring kind of way. She's fast. She's powerful. She's strong. I mean, those suplexes that she had with Yuka and Riho, those were awesome. She looked great. So I was just so impressed with Nyla in this match. Absolutely impressed with Yuka Sakazaki in this match. Absolutely impressed with Riho in this match. I loved that once again we had an opportunity for all three participants to get a chance to shine and showcase what they do best. And I thought they absolutely killed it in this match.
Yes, I after the first show, I was a huge fan of Yuka. She even added more to that tonight. I thought these three worked really well together. I thought Nyla Rose played her role to a T. Her role is, in this match, the story she was telling is she was the monster that wasn't taking her opponent seriously. She would celebrate a little too much. She would stop and enjoy her work. But then you just saw the freakish talent that she has when, she springboarded to the top rope and did the rope hung double knees, and then she busted out a senton. She didn't hit it, but hey, it looks great. It looked great. And it was just like the way she moved around with Rio and Yuka, and she sold well, and she made them look like $1 million. I mean, seriously, she was the star of this match. Nyla was like, everybody was great, but she was kind of the glue. She made the other two look so much more impressive, which when you're a monster, that's what you're supposed to do. And I thought Yuka looked like $1 million. I thought Rio looked like the technician that she is, and those double T moves when they were working on her, it was like, and then she just do this slight movement and just throw them, and I was just like, man, yeah, that's what I wanted to see from that first show. And personally, I came into this saying there's no way Nyla should lose, but the way she did it and the story Jim Ross told, I thought Jim Ross was brilliant during this match, because he was telling the story of her getting along the story of her not taking the match serious and how it could end up costing her. And he kind of led us to the end, but it made it make sense.
Yeah, the whole thing from the wrestling to the commentary was seamless, and it put this perfect presentation of this match together. I was on the opposite end. I had wanted Yuka to win this because I know that they're gunning for the championship and they're going to be unveiling that at All Out. And so I was like, oh, dude, it's got to be Yuka. But then as this match is happening, I'm like, okay, no. Hold everything. All Nyla, all the time, every day, forever. Like, I'm a huge Nyla Rose fan now. Like, that was amazing. I did like how it ended. I loved the surprise roll-up with Riho. I also loved how Yuka continued with her she's so endearing and so charismatic. She looked so sad when she lost the match, and just her head falling and being so crushed was just so sweet. So I love that they have so much personality, that all three of them were able to showcase not even just their moves, but their personalities and really what they're going to be about in this women's division. I was so happy to see this match succeed in the way that it did. And I think it blew everyone's expectations out of the water. It certainly blew mine out of the water, and I was rooting for it the whole time. But, like, man, this was so cool. And then Nyla was amazing.
And then the aftermatch, it drove home the fact that wins and losses matter. Nyla loses, she's pissed. I'm not shaking people's hands. She attacks Rio, and then Yuka, being the lovely, happy person she is, she helps fight off Nyla, and then Rio's like, dude, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to fight. Get off me. Don't help me. I'm here to fight. Rio, they're building her as this tough person that can take a beating, and that's what happened in this match. And she's super serious, and she doesn't want to be friends with anyone, and I love it. I love it because when you're in competitive, you do have people like that. I've had people like that at work where we're competing. They're very clear. I don't want to be your friend. I'm here to destroy you. And hey, I can deal with it.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see where this goes for the women's division. I think that, with Double or Nothing, we got an introduction to everyone. And now we're starting to get into setting up storylines, setting up rivalries, setting up pathways that these wrestlers can take on their journey in AEW. And I think that's a really great showcase of that. And I think that they absolutely succeeded in doing this.
Yeah, we got a path to the heavyweight title. We know when the tag teams titles are going to be decided, and that's going to be a tournament on TV. Now I know the women's title is going to be presented at All Out, but I am excited about how it's going to be decided.
Absolutely. Now, we also have, after this, you were speaking about pathways to the heavyweight championship. Well, this next match, we've got Hangman Page versus MJF versus Jimmy Havoc versus Jungle Boy. MJF. MJF, man. This guy is so good. Oh my gosh. So AEW is like, okay, we have these guys. We trust our guys. We're going to send them out there with a rough idea of what their promos can be. They're going to go out there and do what they do best. Okay, got it. MJF is the shining star of All Elite Wrestling with his promo capabilities. There is nobody, I can't even think of anybody in wrestling that cuts a better promo than he does off the top of my head after watching this show. I could probably, if I sat there and thought about it for a while, but just off the cuff, he is so good.
The freedom that they give him with his promos is everything, because you can tell he's out there reacting. So there was a "you suck" chant, and he says, of course this is the gamers, and this is a very pointed insult. He's like, your mom whose basement you live in, she swallows. That was perfect for the audience that he was in. It was, people might be like, it's crass. This is definitely a TV-14 product, so it was appropriate. But the thing about it is, it was for the audience that he was in. It wasn't just some insult that you could just throw out anywhere. This is a gaming convention. All their friends, professional gamers, all their friends think they stay in their parents' basement and just play video games all day with Cheeto dust on them. That is a common joke. So he made it to him. He he messed up some gamer terms, and you know how much gamers hate that. And it was just it was so poignant. It was so built to his group. He's on another level for someone that young.
Absolutely. And I loved how he eviscerated his opponents too. How he called Jungle Boy a little Tarzan, and then he got like the 30 or 40, I don't know how old he was, guy who still dresses in emo clothes and wears emo makeup, and then Seabiscuit. I loved it so much. Like, he's setting up this whole situation where everybody hates him, and it felt like he was out there for quite a while too, just eviscerating everybody. And I love the freedom that he has, that all of them have, to react to the audience. Because one of the things that's really frustrating when you're listening to people cut promos is when the audience is reacting to them and they're not allowed to react back. It's like they're existing in a vacuum. And in those instances, those promos end up sounding out of place and don't make sense. Whereas in this case, they're allowed the freedom to react, to sort of improvise and come off the cuff with things that do make sense, that make these promos better and just a heck of a lot more fun to listen to.
Yeah, like I said, it's just his reactions. He lets the audience react. He has a great timing with that, letting them boo him. And he's like, are you going to seriously talk when I'm talking? Something as simple as that made them boo him more. And he's one of those people. He draws the right type of heat. People will pay to see him get beat up.
Yes.
Which is the goal of old school heel work, is that people wanted to pay to see you get beat up. And it was like I knew what was coming when he got the mic in his hand, and he still impressed me. I knew he was just going to tear down the guys, but he just did it so good. I just love him. I could watch him cut promos on people. He could cut a promo on me, and I would hate it. I would hate him, but love it.
Yes. No, it was awesome. And I also loved that again, this ended up being a situation where everybody got the chance to shine. So MJF, his skill is in being an absolute jerk, and he does that so well. But then we also have, Hangman Page coming out looking like the star that AEW is building him up to be. He looked fantastic out there. Jungle Boy coming out on Luchasaurus's shoulders. That was so great. The crowd popped so hard for that. I love them as a team. And Jimmy Havoc coming out. Jimmy Havoc is a guy that everybody's really excited about being in AEW. And, you know, I would love to see him in a singles match at some point so I can get to know him more. But he was great in this match. For me, the standouts for this match, of course, vocally were MJF. But Jungle Boy was really great in this match. And for a guy who is called Jungle Boy, like, it's hard to take that seriously when I'm saying that out loud. But man, watching him, you just want to believe in him. He's great. He's fast. He's flippy. He's athletic. He's charismatic. He doesn't even have to say a word. And he's so emotive with his face and with his interactions with Luchasaurus. So having that happen in this match where you get to see people, again, shine in new ways was just a blast. I loved how strong Paige looked here. I also loved how they kind of delayed the Hangman Page MJF interactions until towards the end of the match, where then we got to have that payoff and have them standing in the ring and trading blows back and forth. I liked that they delayed that a bit. This match was a lot of fun.
Yes, I completely agree. Jungle Boy did this flip on the outside of the ring where he like hit his knees first and then flipped over. And look, that was just completely sick. He's smaller than other people, but I like how he was using that to his advantage. Going to the ropes and using the leverage that. Hilarious, him coming out on Luchasaurus's shoulders, and then they had this spot on the outside of the ring where I guess MJF hit him, and he was Luchasaurus was behind him, and he just went back. He went back on his shoulder and like in that Tower of Doom, but he went all the way back, and then he popped up, which takes incredible body control, and then got back in the ring. I just think this whole thing between the boy and his dinosaur is going to be amazing. And I just thought Luchasaurus played his role really well, and I think that I think the person that kind of got lost in the shuffle was Jimmy Havoc tonight, and it's gonna happen in Fatal 4-Way matches. I think he's a really good wrestler. I enjoy Jimmy Havoc. I've watched him, like I said, of the four, I've seen him wrestle more than all of them combined. But I think when they made the Moxley Janela unsanctioned match, like, it was going to be super hardcore, and then you had the Jabali Nakazawa match that was going to be hardcore. I think they toned down his hardcore side for this match to make those moments bigger.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I do agree that he got a little lost in the shuffle. So I'm excited to see what's next for him, because I don't really feel like I've gotten a chance to really see what he is about and what he does and really get to know him and his story. And I'm excited to get to see that at some point. And again, each show so far has had a moment where we get introduced to new to us people. So I'm looking forward for that moment for Jimmy Havoc. For this one tonight, for me, this match was all about Jungle Boy. And I'm so glad that Paige won.
Yeah,
but it was all about Jungle Boy.
Yeah, I feel like that was almost like a directive. Get Jungle Boy over, because the three of them work collectively to make him look as good as possible. But Hangman was definitely the star of this match. He was definitely the strong one. And MJF was definitely the asshole of the match. They all had their roles. Havoc's a crafty veteran. He probably was like, okay, there's a lot of wrestling to go. Let's just make it about you three tonight. I'll have my time.
Absolutely. And speaking of more wrestling, the next match was insane. I had no idea what to expect in this match. I didn't really know Darby Allin very well. But we had Cody Rhodes versus Darby Allin. Darby Allin comes out with what appears to be a body bag with Cody's name on it. And he comes out to the ring. He unveils his, half dead face. And then he goes and sits down in the ring, in the corner, while Cody comes out doing his American Nightmare entrance. He's the hero of Double or Nothing. He's the hero of Fyter Fest, the hero of All Elite Wrestling. He's got everything in the world. He is showboating like you wouldn't believe. And you've just got Darby Allin blending in, fading into the background, lost amongst the noise, just watching. And I loved how that set up the story in this match. This match was so good. It was all about Darby Allin proving himself. It was all about Darby Allin, like you said last week, doing everything he could to climb up on top of this match. And if they're setting out to put Darby Allin over, which is what really their role was in this match, it was, we're watching Cody Rhodes turn himself from the hero of All Elite Wrestling into the dastardly heel of this match. And he's so masterful with his character work that he's able to accomplish that, which is always impressive. But that's what he had to do. He had to be the person to be the bad guy in this match so that Darby Allin could shine. And I think they executed that perfectly.
Yeah, back in the 70s and 80s, Ric Flair, when they were trying to get a new guy over, and he would come to your town or whatever as the NWA champion, then they'd have him against the new guy, and everybody would think he's going to just destroy him, and then they'd go a 60-minute time limit draw. And what that would do is Ric Flair is still the champion or whatever, but it would make the other guy look good without, making him look too good, right? That would make him like, oh, he came that close to beating the champ. Now, the next time they wrestle, Ric Flair would win or whatever, but that would show that he's a future star. Honestly, in Oklahoma City or in Oklahoma Mid-South Territory, it was Ted DiBiase. It was a young Ted DiBiase. Him and Ric Flair wrestled to a few 60-minute draws, and that's how he kind of became Ted DiBiase. Well, in this case, this is a very old-school way of telling a story. Cody's looking past Darby Allin. Darby Allin's not on his level. He's much bigger than Darby Allin. He's been wrestling longer than Darby Allin. There's no way Darby Allin should hang with him. So, they tell the story of Darby just being a little bit faster and being a little bit better than Cody is. And then he slaps Darby Allin to say, get back in your place. And then after that, and then once they started working the hand, Darby Allin was fast and crafty, and he is willing to bump like crazy. I never want him in a match with Jon Moxley, like in that kind of match, because he might die. I think they did something for Northeast Wrestling, but I didn't watch it. So yeah, so I will wait. It's just, this dude can bump like crazy, and Cody made him look like $1 million, while Cody still looked strong. And they did a good job of telling us how much time was left. So once they started doing that, I kind of had a feeling that might be where it was going, but they still did a good job. I really, you don't get time limit draws in wrestling that often, and I hope it's a trend they might be bringing back in a rare type of way.
Oh, me too. I was elated that we had a time limit draw. I haven't seen a time limit draw in wrestling, I want to say in a year and a half, maybe. I think it was a Kenny Okada match that was a time limit draw. Now, the end of this match was insane because you have Darby Allin going for an elbow drop, and Cody moves out of the way. Darby lands on his spine on the corner of the apron, and I'm like, oh my God, like, is he okay? Dude gets up and then gets zipped into the body bag that he brought out for Cody. So now Darby's in the body bag. Then he takes a bump and then kicks out. I'm just like, what is going on? Oh my gosh. So then they have the draw, and then crazy stuff goes down. So then we have Shawn Spears coming out with the chair, and he hits Cody Rhodes in the head. Now, there's a couple of things I'm going to say about this. The first thing I'm going to say is, pretty sure Cody bladed on that.
He did?
Because I think he did. I think. I don't know. Maybe he didn't. That's kind of why I was like, I don't know if this is a work or not as far as the blood, because the camera was away from Cody for a long time, and I know Cody likes to blade. At All In and Double or Nothing, there were blade jobs involved. And I know that that's something that they like to do. He may not have bladed, and if he didn't blade, then that's even crazier. But in spite of whether he bladed or not, the chair shot to the head, dude, like, I just am so not a fan of that. And I know that that's going to bring this down a little bit, but I'm not going to go too far into it. Just going to say that, like, I'm fine with chairs. I'm fine with chair shots. I'm not fine with unprotected chair shots to the head, because that makes me, as a viewer, feel complicit in long-term damage that we know could happen. And I was so grateful that JR started at least mentioning the words CTE on commentary, because I think it's so important that if we're going to watch something like that, that we're aware of what the context is. And I think that's really important to at least be honest enough to bring that up.
I am 99% sure Cody and Tony shared a look or a talk after that. I don't think he was supposed to put up his hands. I think so.
Oh, for the chair shot?
Yeah. But once you're out there, you're kind of out there. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
I'm just gonna say, I am, as much as Tony Khan has been on every show talking about wrestler and wrestler safety, he did not clear an unprotected headshot.
With that amount of blood and everybody coming out.
Yeah, he did not. I mean, he might have cleared the blood. He might even cleared that, but he did not clear the unprotected headshot. He did not.
I don't know, man. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't.
I'm just saying, it doesn't really go. Like, I've heard multiple interviews, and his one thing he talks about, one of his tent poles, is wrestler safety. That would kind of spit in the face of that, right?
Yes, exactly.
I'm like, no. Like me, I'm a huge Cody fan. I have no problem admitting that I am not biased when it came to them. And I personally, again, grew up 80s wrestling. I have no problem with the occasional chair shot if it's making it mean something. Because CTE doesn't happen from one chair shot. It happens from 100. Now, if this was to build up the feud that's coming, and this doesn't happen again, it was just that one shot, I'm okay. I can live with it. But, like, I saw one match back in the 90s where The Rock hit, like, Mankind in the head, unprotected, so many times in a row, to the point where Mick Foley doesn't even remember it.
Yeah.
That's excessive. One chair shot, fine, especially when it's coming from Sean Spears, somebody he absolutely trusts, that knows how to do it. I can handle it. It's not something I want to see. You know what I mean? I can live the rest of my wrestling life without ever seeing another unprotected head chair shot. I mean, I understand that it is a show. So, you put your hands up, I still treat it like you got hit in the head.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's not like, mentally I can still work that out, that still counts as a chair shot. I don't need you to not put your hands up and get hit in the head, because it's not something I would personally want to do. It's like, I don't...
Well, for me, the difference is that if you put your hands up, I still react like, oh my God, you just got hit in the head with a chair.
Exactly.
But if you don't put your hands up, then I'm spending part of the next match still worried about your head. And it takes me out of the moment. And, this isn't something that's going to make me stop watching AEW or anything crazy like that. But I will say that, just as somebody, for me personally, as somebody who loves watching wrestling and is kind of squeamish with hardcore stuff, I'm fine with chairs. But man, whether it's Ibushi and Naito or Cody and Sean Spears, like, no chair shots to the head. I don't even think that was Ibushi and Naito. I think that was Taichi and Naito. But either way, no chair shots to the head. Because,
like I said, I could go the rest of my life without seeing that again.
There's a million other ways to do it. But that said, we will give an update. AEW put out a post on Twitter saying that he had 12 staples to the back of his head and no concussion. So that is the update from AEW in regards to that. Yes,
and I'm glad he is good, no concussion. Again, I will state it. One chair shot to the head does not cause CTE. From what I've been told from the documentaries I've watched, it's the repeated stuff.
Right.
So he really just needs to not let this happen. This needs to not be a normal thing that they do. Put your hands up. It makes sense if you see somebody coming, swinging something towards your face. Your normal reaction is to put your hand up.
Yes.
No one just says, "Oh, I'm just gonna take it all the way and put my hand." No, you put your hands up. It makes sense.
Exactly. All in all, though, this was a great match.
Oh my God, it was so good.
The ending freaked me out, and it kind of made it so that the beginning of the next match was a bit rough, just because I was distracted from it. But that said, they did pace it well. I will say this for commentary: they did pace it well. Where, if they're going to do a chair shot spot, and if they're going to have, everybody come out, and they're going to have a bunch of referees come out, and they're even going to have MJF running out. Somebody pointed out on Twitter that MJF was reassuring a kid in the audience that Cody was okay. And I thought that was really sweet, because if you've got some dude whose character is a total jerk, to have him be like, no, it's okay, that's really sweet. So, I'm so conflicted. If you're going to do a chair shot, which I don't want you to do, but if you're going to do it, making sure people know that you're okay, that's good. That's a good thing. So continue doing that. So that was good.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't even know that you just told me that. That's very awesome. You got, when you're doing TV-14 and you're going to that borderline violence, letting a kid know in the front row that it's okay, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next match, this was one that I was so excited to see. And the entrances were so great. You've got Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks coming out in Street Fighter gear to music from Street Fighter. This is what Kenny Omega lives for. He's such a video game nerd. I mean, the thing with Kenny Omega is that, every Wrestle Kingdom entrance or every big show entrance, like Dominion when he was in New Japan, he would come out with video game inspired attire. And it was so cool to see that this time. It was just awesome. So that immediately got me super pumped and super hyped, because I knew that this was going to be that Kenny Omega match that I was so excited about seeing. And then you've got the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid. Now, we talked last week about this, and you were super pumped and hyped about Laredo Kid. And man, after watching this match, now I know why. That dude is amazing. This whole match was amazing.
He just fit right in with 5 of the best wrestlers in the world. He just fit right in. Right there. Move for move, spot for spot. He was there. I seriously sent out a tweet right after. AEW, please sign him. He fits in. He just works with what they were doing, and it was very much a AAA style or Lucha style 6-man tag, and I was just there's so many moments I was like, wow, how did they do that? It was so good. I was even more impressed with Laredo Kid. It was just how is he not signed anywhere? How does he not have a contract somewhere in America? He was amazing.
Yeah, this whole match was amazing. I love Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks together. And I've come to love the Young Bucks and Lucha Brothers together as I've seen them more. All of these men, all 6 of them in the ring together, were flawless, seamless. Their chemistry was amazing. The high-flying spots, the comedy spots where they would have those misses, big group kicks or whatever, and then miss or get countered. The crazy flying flips out of the ring. Yeah. All of it was amazing. I loved at one point when Matt Jackson's hitting all of these Northern Lights suplexes.
Yeah.
And then Jim Ross is like, I hear the Northern Lights are really beautiful this time of year.
Yes, that was amazing. Jim Ross, you can just tell he cares more. I know some people. I actually saw some complaints about him. I'm like, I think you just don't want to like Jim Ross at this point. I was just like, I don't know. I don't know if it's something personal. I don't know if he's spitting your Cheerios or something. But I thought he was really good tonight. And but when I was listening to it, and then they did the top rope Spanish fly to the outside of the ring. I was like, they will do anything to entertain. And I love how the V-trigger is kind of being used in just more important moments.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that it's protected like that.
Yeah.
There are so many things with Kenny Omega that I love. I love that the chant for Kenny Omega is now the Terminator stomp and clap.
Yes.
That I love that so much. I loved that there was this moment where he was going down in the ring and everybody started doing the Terminator stomp or clap or whatever. And then he goes up to do the flip, the dive out of the ring. And the camera starts getting shaky. And I'm like, dude, you are not going to screw up the Terminator like that. You just know, like, you don't do that. Turns out Pentagon is jumping into the middle of the ring to stop Kenny Omega from doing it. He never actually hit it because Pentagon kept stopping him, which I thought was great. I love when you have things that tell a story like that. The one thing that I did love, though, was that we got to see the one-winged angel. I love that move so much. We haven't seen that move from him since before Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
That's like 6 months ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And he hit it, and it's the move, and it's protected. It's just so good. Man, the Street Fighter theme costumes was... I go back to that just because it just added to the overall epicness of this match. Like, I don't like 6-man tags. I want to be very clear. 6-man tags how they've been presented to me for years. I don't like the way the Elite does it, like when they did it at the end of All In last year, and the way they did it today with the Lucha Bros and Laredo Kid. I can get back behind that for the rest of my life. I could watch that match. I will watch that match again. I could watch that match every day. Because I think if I watch that match 5 times in a row, I am going to find a different thing I didn't see the previous time. They did so much.
They really, really did. And actually, that was something as I was watching it where I was like, I want to watch this again. I already know that I want to watch this again. The crowd is chanting "Fight Forever." This was the match of the night for me. This was so good. And I know that we had Moxley and Janela, and of course we're going to get to that. But as far as AEW wrestling matches on their card that are sanctioned, this was my match of the night. It was so good. It was explosive. It was electrifying. It was thrilling. It was fun. It was silly. It was great. Like, there were so many good aspects that they just kept hitting in this match. Every single beat that they set out to hit, they hit with flawless expertise. I loved this match.
Yes, I can't get more behind you than I am. They just did. It was everything that it was supposed to be. It was a main event match. It felt like it meant something. I know no titles were on the line, but they fought so hard that it felt like it meant something. And it was just like, I think we got like 2 Canadian destroyers in the match. I mean, you got Penta and Ray doing their thing. Ray Phoenix, I think, is one of the most spectacular wrestlers in the world. I'm like, I seriously, it's like, I think him, Omega, and Ospreay are like on this different level of all-around wrestler. Because those are the 3 people you can put with a junior, or you can put with a heavyweight, and you're gonna have a spot. You're gonna have a moment in the match where you're like, how did they do that? And I just think Ray Phoenix is just amazing, and I just thought he was amazing tonight. And it was just like the whole, like I said, the springboard Spanish fly to the top rope, where I was just like, to the outside, I was like, dude, are they trying to die? And it's just like, they were so good, and they just walked off. They did the handshake at the end, I thought Kenny was about to say Laredo Kid was signed. I really did. I was like, my brain went straight there. It's like, they're about to announce that they signed him. Dude, if he's not pinned to paper in like 2 weeks, I'm questioning it, because he was so good. He was so good.
He really was.
I'm like, I don't want to get there. Like, it was just like, that's only the second time I've seen him work. And what you do is, when you get a person, when you have Kenny Omega, the Bucks, and then you got the Lucha Bros, you're like, whoever they get has to be able to hang. They can't carry anyone. It's just too much talent in that ring, and they're going to be doing their thing, and they fit him in there, and he fit like a glove. And just letting me know that you can hang with those 5 guys means you need a contract.
Absolutely, man. So I'm hoping that they sign him. This match was spectacular.
Yeah.
I could not possibly agree more. This match was phenomenal, and for that to be an introduction to Laredo Kid for me was amazing.
Yes.
That was great. Let's talk about the unsanctioned match. Now, this, I really loved how they handled this. They have Justin Roberts come out and go, well, that was it, guys. That was our last match. Our last match of our AEW show. Now, when the lights go off, the show will be over. But there will be one more match. I liked how they handled that. And, of course, that one more match was Jon Moxley versus Joey Janela in an unsanctioned, hardcore, basically deathmatch style of wrestling. Because they're both deathmatch wrestlers.
Yes.
And they're both either digging graves or laying in coffins when they're doing the promos for this match. So this is clearly going to be intense. And, they delivered on everything in that.
And they did it where it wasn't overly bloody, which was good.
Yes. So I was totally terrified of this match. I was like, man, someone is going to die. This is going to be crazy. Oh, my God. And I was watching this match through my fingers for, like, the first half. And I think at the end, too. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I think because I had already seen the chair shot, so I had already had that, like, oh my God, worry out of my system by that point. So we had chairs wrapped in barbed wire. We had two tables wrapped in barbed wire. There was one chair at least wrapped in barbed wire. There were steel chairs that were brought out. There were just regular tables that were brought out. I don't even know. Do you know how many tables they went through in this match?
I don't know. I couldn't even venture a guess without watching it again. I would say at least 6.
Yeah, okay, that's a good guess, because there were like shards of table everywhere.
Yes. And then barbed wire wrapped arms, barbed wire wrapped chairs, barbed wire wrapped tables. They were all about the barbed wire.
And thumbtacks.
Yes, and thumbtacks. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh, when he took his socks off.
Oh God, that was terrible.
Oh my God. Like, I'm telling you, like, when I was young, my sisters used to do a lot of projects. And occasionally we walked around the house barefoot. And occasionally I would catch a tack. And it was the most painful thing ever, to my young body at that time. I couldn't imagine doing it on purpose.
Yeah, no, they hurt. That just looked so painful. And, I have to say at one point, because we have kids, and during the wrestling shows, we often set up the kids with, ice cream and chips and movies and things. And I have my oldest one watch my littlest one. My littlest one ran out in the middle of this match. And my husband and I were like, no, go back. Because this match was not safe for kids. Like,
yes.
No.
There's a lot of things you can find around the house that you can use in this match.
I don't need you, don't try this at home.
Yes. You're like,
it was a good match, though. I mean, like, again, I went into this going, I'm not sure I can be able to watch this. But besides the thumbtacks and the barbed wire, it wasn't really that bad. It was a good match. And, interestingly, too, after seeing Moxley in Japan, I bet he was really glad to have some American tables to go through instead of the Japanese tables, which are ridiculously thick. So this was fun. This was crazy. They did what they set out to do, which was have a crazy hardcore match. And then the end of it, this was the craziest thing to me. Then we have Kenny Omega coming out and then running up on Moxley, sort of getting back at him for what he did to him after his match with Jericho. But then Kenny Omega's like picking up trash cans and electric guitars, and like suddenly Kenny Omega's like hardcore going after Moxley. That was crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy, and he was violent. Like, I kept thinking, okay, so he hits the move, then hits the guitar, and I'm like, okay, that's it. Then he kept going, and I was like, okay, well, that's it. And then he went some more. Then they get him from the back, and nope, still not done yet. And the most subtle thing ever was Jon Moxley's smile on his face. God, that was so good. It was so good, and the camera guy caught it perfectly, and it was just like, Moxley is, right now, this larger-than-life character, and I've had to update my term to say this. Right now, he is the guy people want to be, and then other people want to be with. That dude is badass and sexy at the same time. I have no problem saying it. I'm secure. The dude is sexy right now. I'm like, dude, when he comes out, he has this confidence, he has this swag, he has this just magnetic energy where you literally don't want to blink because you're afraid of what you're going to miss. And he has this, he could beat up any guy in the room vibe to him. And it's just, and I'm not one of those people, oh, you just left the WWE. No, I've seen people leave the WWE and suck. But this dude seems like he is having the time of his life, and you can see it in every movement he makes. Not just the expression on his face, his body language is different. I remember when the Shield first came out, and they were doing these little cell phone promos in the back. They'd have the single camera. Seth would say something, Roman would say something, and then at the beginning, and then it'd be Dean saying something. And I remember the way he cut his promos, that energy, that jitteriness about him. It was just something magnetic about him. So when I remember when I first got a chance to go to WrestleMania, I was like, all I want to do is meet Dean Ambrose. He was my favorite member of the Shield. And then slowly over years, they made me hate the guy. And now he's back to the guy that I was just like, dude, I need to be around this person. I need to see every match he does. He has this energy about him. And it's like the big star, the badass. He's cool. He's like all the different adjectives you can use for what you want in a star in wrestling.
Absolutely. The dude just exudes cool.
Yeah.
He is the coolest guy. It's crazy to think that 6 months ago, this was the guy donning a gas mask and taking a vaccination shot in his butt. Well, it's crazy that that's the same guy. Whereas this guy, you can tell, is like exhilarated by what he's doing. He loves this. He is in his element. He's got swagger. He's got confidence. He's just on top of the world, man. And so cool. Yeah, he's awesome. This was great.
Yes, and it's just one of those things. It's just like I said, if he's in the room, he's the guy you're looking at. And he doesn't have to say anything. You don't have to know that he's a wrestler. He just has that energy about him. And I felt it when his entrance came out and he was in the pants, and I was like, and I even tweeted this out that I hope that's how he looks in AEW, and then he looks different in New Japan. Because I would love that. Because he's the Death Rider in New Japan. That's kind of a different character. And then, he's Mox in AEW. I like that. I like when characters are presented two different ways in two different companies. I just think it keeps it fresh. So, I love that. So, he just comes out, and his music hits, and, you just like, something's about to happen, And I've actually been glowing over him. Forgot to talk about Joey Janela being the toughest son of a bitch ever. Good Lord. And he loves his character. I just didn't want to leave Joey Janela out because I think he was, to have someone look like a badass, you gotta have someone that makes them look like a badass. And Joey Janela did everything he could to make him look like a badass. And I don't want Joey Janela and his praise to get lost in this match.
Dude, not at all. That dude climbed off a ladder, jumped through a table, stepped on thumbtacks, got body slammed into thumbtacks, got body slammed or suplexed, I can't remember which, into a steel chair, took I don't even know how many shots of barbed wire to the back. Let's give it up for Joey Janela over here.
I saw him pull it out his skin. It was like he had to unwrap himself. I have to give it up to Joey Janela, because for every bit of badass as Mox looked in this match, Joey Janela took that hell of a beating. And, I look forward to what's next in Joey Janela, because, of course, he seems to be a main cog in this AEW wheel. And I just want to see how he goes, because I'm pretty sure he can't just do a bunch of hardcore matches. So I want to see him wrestle a regular match, and I want to see him in all the different ways that I can get him.
Absolutely, man. So overall, I'd say Fyter Fest was a fantastic show. I think it's safe to say that you think so as well, right?
Yeah, absolute A on my part. Absolute
A. Now let's go over some questions real quick from our listeners. So you put out this great call tonight after the show. Anybody got any questions? Feel free to throw them out there and we'll answer them. And hey, dude, let's answer some questions right now.
All right. Yeah, they definitely came through. They gave us some good questions. There's some in the same area, but in general, they all have their own different take. The first one is from DEJ Kirkby. His motivated and confident mask asked, whose stock rose and whose stock fell after Fyter Fest?
Man, so real quick, great question. Also want to just say, dude, Mags is a longtime fan of the Dragon's Den podcast and this podcast. Yes. So I want to say hello to Mags out there. So whose stock rose and fell? I would say that the one that I think got lowered a bit tonight would be the Librarians. I know we talked about that earlier, so I'm not going to go too much into that right now, but I think that as excited as I was for the Librarian gimmick, I think that after tonight, I'm excited to see how they can improve, and that will be interesting. As far as whose stock rose, that would be Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose absolutely killed it in the women's triple threat match tonight. She set herself up as a heel. She set herself up as a dominant force. She set herself up as somebody that you can literally just believe in the women's division. And for me, that was somebody whose stock rose for the women's division in AEW tonight.
All right. Well, I would like to I'm going to give different answers. Actually, that would have been my answer. But I'm going to give different answers just because I think we had multiple people who stock rose. I'm going Laredo Kid on stock rose. A lot of people didn't even know who Laredo Kid was before tonight. And I imagine he has a huge fan base after tonight. So I definitely would say go Laredo Kid. Stock down. I'm being super critical here. This is not I honestly think that answer was honestly the only real answer, but I would probably go Jimmy Havoc because he kind of got overshadowed by everybody else. And,
yeah, I think that's fair.
And if you wanted to say a term that's used a lot in the wrestling podcast is jag, which is just a guy. Tonight he was very much just a guy. There was nothing really special that stood out about him.
Yeah, I agree. So it'll be really great to see, when he does have a singles match, where he goes from there and how he gets to shine. Because, yeah, totally agree on that. Next question that we've got is, let's go with Troubleman JG. So it's going to be at JTG8679. Do you both feel the Shawn Spears attack on Cody will lead to a match at All Out? Now, does Cody have a match at All Out?
He does
already?
not. He does not.
So maybe it might end up, because like you said, we have a draw. So we have a situation where they will need to revisit that. I don't know if they have to revisit that right now.
I don't think they do. I think that kind of wrote itself. I think you can come back to it later, maybe on TV, but right now it wrote itself, as in the goal was to get Darby Allin over.
Right. And I think that with Shawn Spears, I think we certainly could see a match at All Out, or we could see Shawn Spears continuing to sort of act as a background thorn in his side in his matches as they build up for a feud on TV. They certainly could have a match at All Out, though. That's very interesting, and it would give both of them, because we've seen Shawn Spears in the Battle Royale for Double or Nothing, and we saw him tonight with the chair shot. It certainly would give him something to do in a match to sort of introduce him and set the tone and set the dynamic for AEW heading into TV. So maybe.
Yeah, and Cody being in the title picture is not something that they're looking at right now. So he's always going to need a big match at whatever show he has, as far as, and they've been the kind of personal thing that's been going on. It gives him a long form to tell the best stories. Now, imagine the road to All Out, and it telling the story of Shawn Spears and Cody, who were tag team partners back in the FCW days. And and Shawn was actually looked at as the guy that was going to be the star. And now look at it, they're in kind of opposite positions, to the point where Cody had to hire him. Shawn Spears also sent out a little video on Twitter after this. This is adding color. I don't know if you saw this, where when you press play, it's a little video of Cody saying he's a good hand, and it just plays over, he's a good hand. That seems to be what they're going to, that set Shawn off. So me personally, I'm thinking it is definitely the match at All Out, and it's going to be built up well, and I would not be shocked if something goes down in Fight for the Fallen, where Shawn is involved. I like it because he's one of those people. I don't like using the word deserves, because I kind of feel like you get what you get in life. But I think he has put in the time where I would love more people to see him in the spotlight. Because I've seen him in good feuds in the WWE with Eric Young and Sanity, and I thought he was a really good wrestler. So I would love to see what he can do with Cody. I would set it at I'm about 70% sure that's the match. So I'm pretty confident that's going to be the match. But AEW has this way of going a little bit differently than what you think is going to happen, and it'd be so much better than what you thought.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that turns out.
Yeah.
We've got time for a couple more questions. Do you want to pick from the list to see what our next one's going to be?
All right. No, we kind of talked about this one. All right. This one's kind of a funner one, more fun one. I'm going to put him out here at Motown Ricky G. We was talking about the unprotected chair shots. He asked, did we think they were going to be banned? We really did talk a lot about unnecessary unprotected chair shots. I don't know if it's going to be banned, but I would definitely like it to be frowned upon. Do you have anything else to add other than that?
No, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be banned. I don't know if this is something that was intentional or if he was meant to put his hands up. I think that based off of what the reaction is that they get from it, that it might go up and down. I really don't know.
Like I said, I want it to be frowned upon. I want it to be used rarely.
Yeah.
Like we get this one, we don't get another one for a year.
Yes.
I'm good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good. I can handle it every now and then, but I want it to be extremely rare. So when it happens, it means something.
Because we literally just saw a hardcore match with Moxley and Janela, and there were 0 chair shots to the head.
Exactly, and it was just as violent.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, but the question I wanted to go to is at BDixon01. Bill Dixon asks, is Jon Moxley spitting a thumbtack into the camera the most badass thing you've seen in wrestling, and why is the answer yes?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be a GIF at some point. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a GIF. And when you don't like something that someone does, it's going to be Jon Moxley spitting a thumbtack at you. And I think that's perfect. I honestly, like I said, I went delved into how cool I think this man is right now, but even that was a level of badassness I hadn't seen. That was movie star badassness. That is something you would see in the Fast and the Furious, where The Rock just spits out a thumbtack. Oh, you tried to hurt me, you can't hurt me with thumbtacks. It's that kind of moment. It's going to be something people talk about for a while.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And like you were saying earlier, he is so cool. And when you got a dude that cool spitting a thumbtack out of his mouth after landing on a bunch of thumbtacks, after hitting some dude with barbed wire and going through 6 tables, yeah, that was pretty much the most badass thing I've seen in wrestling.
Yeah.
All right, we got another Moxley question from @Viking_Wayne84. What do you think of the potential Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega feud? And what or who do you think is next for Darby Allin?
Okay. Okay, so first part of the question. I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's funny because I think what they're doing is kind of giving you Kenny versus Shima. And they gave you this the 6-man, and they gave you Kenny versus Shima, so you can see the athletic Kenny from New Japan. But I think when he fights against Jon Moxley, it's going to be more of the similar style that he fought with Chris Jericho in their series. It's going to be more of a fight, and that is a different side of Kenny Omega from all the people that have been watching him in New Japan for years. The best bout machine, that kind of guy. This is more of a fight, and I am digging it, and I like how they present matches, and I like how they save the really big matches for pay-per-views. So hopefully we get to see this match a few times, spread out over like the next year.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think we're going to get a different style of Jericho kind of match with Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley, because Jericho's very heavy hitter, very much like a bulldozer, but with tables. Whereas Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega, I think, are going to have similar energy and similar athleticism in addition to that hardcore style. It was really weird seeing Kenny Omega pick up a guitar and bash someone over the back with it. I'm just going to say that. It was so weird. Yeah. But I'm not against it. I don't hate it. It was just weird. So, if I'm going to get to see a different style of Kenny Omega, if Kenny Omega is a dude that's like, hey, man, I'm in AEW now. We've got Moxley. I could do whatever I want. Let's try this out. Hey, man, go for it. Have fun. I'm here for it. It's going to be interesting. Try not to break your nose. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. When it comes down to it, I think his facial expression sold it more. He showed the more angry, violent side of Kenny Omega, and I thought they did a really good job with the facial expressions there.
For sure. Now, what about the second part of that question? What do you think is next for Darby Allin?
I think MJF's going to need something to do. So I think we might get Darby Allin MJF. I believe they've worked together in the past. I think that he's set up tonight. It's going to be Hangman versus Kip Sabian, because Kip Sabian was at the announce table and he was supposed to get the winner of the Fatal 4-Way. Maybe they go MJF versus Darby Allin. I don't know, because like I said, I don't 100% know or think I even have a really good idea, because it depends. It depends on if they're gonna open up a secondary title or what they're gonna do with that. So I'm really looking forward to it. It looks like Darby's gonna be a guy, because for him not to take the loss to Cody, that's significant, because Cody is he's an over guy in the company.
Yeah. What about Jimmy Havoc?
That would be cool.
I know they're both similar in that they're both smaller dudes. They both wear makeup. They both have kind of a grittier, edgier, kind of hardcore style. So it would kind of be another hardcore-ish match. but it might be something interesting for both of them to do to shine in a new way. Although I do like the storyline that Darby was in for the Cody match, where you have him as an underdog who fades in the background against somebody who's so overly charismatic and has it all. So maybe he needs to have that kind of person to go against to kind of complement each other.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I know that doesn't describe Jimmy Havoc. That describes somebody like MJF. So that's the argument for MJF. But maybe Jimmy Havoc? I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
And maybe they do Jimmy Havoc in a makeshift tag team with Darby Allin to try to go, because they're going to do that for the tag team tournament. I think it's not just going to be the established tag teams. I think we'll get a couple makeshift tag teams. I think we'll get Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Maybe we get Darby Allin and Jimmy Havoc working together.
Yeah, maybe. All right, so our last question for tonight is kind of, it's kind of an easy question to answer. This one comes from Simply Jake at JAY New Japan, and this is, can I get All Things Elite on Apple Podcast? And the answer to that, my friend, is yes. You can find it on Apple or anywhere else where you get your podcast fix by searching up Social Suplex, and you will find All Things Elite podcast within that network. And so you will see this at the top of the Social Suplex aggregation of the podcast episodes that they have out.
Yep, and we release every Saturday. Generally, it's Saturday morning. On weeks that we have shows, we're going to do our best to record after the show, just because we want to get you the quickest review that you could possibly can and hear our thoughts on the show. And like I said, we love that we got all the questions tonight. That was amazing. Like I said, it was just like, it was like as soon as we put it up and you retweeted it, we started getting questions, and that was awesome. And we got to all of them because a lot of the questions some were similar, and we just answered them together.
Yes. So thank you so much, everybody, for throwing questions out. If we didn't get to yours, I'm sorry. Like he said, we kind of doubled up on some of them because they were similar. But thank you so much for submitting them. It's wonderful to get to hear your thoughts on the show, get to know what you're wondering about, and really make this an interactive experience for all of us. So it was really awesome. Thank you all for submitting your questions. And as for us, we've got Fight for the Fallen to look forward to. We've got All Out to look forward to. And we've got all the hype for the stories and matches that have been set up from tonight's action at Fyter Fest to set the tone for the next couple of months until TNT.
All right, yeah, and we're going to talk about this more next week, but we will talk a little bit more about Wednesday Night Titans. Apparently, that's going to be the name of the TV show. We're also going to preview Fight for the Fallen, and we're gonna kind of catch you up on Being the Elite and Road to Fight for the Fallen. We'll catch you up on those shows and any new news that comes out this week.
Absolutely, and I can't wait for it. So thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for listening to our recap episode of Fyter Fest, and we will catch you next time.
All right, and I will leave you like I normally do. Make sure you download Bleacher Report Live for the next show if you didn't get it for this one. And I will say, whether it's life, school, or work, always do your best to be elite.